Hi, welcome. I'm Andy Kim, and I'm going to unbox a very interesting book called The Necessary Security, an illustrated history of Rothschild bonds, right? So, this is the one I purchased when I visited the Rothschilds' manor in Wadston, in England, a couple of years ago, and they had a lot of souvenirs in their building, but for finance professors, this was the most important one. So instead of wasting my money on wines or any other clothings over there, I spent my money purchasing this one for my pedagogical purpose, teaching my students about the bonds. How does it look? How did it look like in 200 years ago? Okay, why do we call such thing as bond or coupons and things like that? Okay, who were they issuing to? Okay, um, so Rothschild was by far the biggest bank in 200 years ago, 19th century Europe, all the way from London to Paris and Vienna and then Frankfurt and then Naples, right? Those five brothers of Rothschild family were scattered around, and then they were cooperatively working out diligently. And then they were the financial orchestrator of European economic system. Okay, of course they are one of the important bankers. They are not the only one. That we have to be careful. And then what we have to be careful also is the conspiracy theory that is quite prevalent, as if the Rothschild family were manipulating all kinds of bad things or good things or whatever. But those conspiracy theory, okay, typically those are spread by Nazi Germany. Okay, the Goebbels and Hitler were intentionally cooking up the story in a worse fashion so that they will incur and trigger more animosity against the Jewish people, so that they ended up killing 6 million people in Holocaust. So we have to be careful about that conspiracy kind of stories over there. But what is represented in this book, we have to be looking at it as it is, as an objective, right? Evidence of the history. Okay, so let's go one by one. All right. Why do they have this kind of numbers over there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down to 45. We're going to come back to this idea later on. Contents, introduction, and then they show what country they served. Okay, the Rothschild family. What countries, prince and kings, okay, did they serve? Because they had this one principle called saying, if you want to do business in a certain country, deal with the ones that is risk free, or the biggest and the safest, which is the rulers, the kings, right? Be the bankers of the kings, right? So in Prussia, which is Preußen, or these days Germany, right? 1818, they were issuing bonds for them. Russia, this is different from Prussia, right? And then 1822, yeah, if you think about Russian Empire, they were also busily expanding into the other southern part, right? Spain, right? They were expanding into Latin American colonies, so they didn't needed a lot of money. And then Egypt, what is that? Well, Great Britain, okay? They had to expand into Egypt and then colonize those area. So for that, for example, they built what? Suez Canal, right? They had to be financed by somebody, okay? So Rothschild issued bond for the British government at this point, and then general investors were purchasing it to finance the construction. South Africa, well, Dutch, right, were expanding into South Africa, and then there's a lot of gold mine, and then gold mine, and then diamond also as over there. Somebody had to finance those extraction projects, right? That was Rothschild. In Chile, South America, yeah, gold mines and all these things. In Japan, what? And as Korean or Chinese or Asians, you would typically stop just like me. What? how come Japan is there, right? But that was the reality, right? Um, so their imperial expansion had to be financed by somebody, and especially in 1905, that was the year when the Japan had a war against Russia, okay, and they beat Russia, and then they had to be financed, right? They had to bring money to support their own militaries. Who financed that? Rothschild. Ah, okay. And then Brazil and France and Hungary, all those bonds issued for the government, okay? Those evidences are accumulated over here as a souvenir. So let's go, okay? Now, mm, the first page, huh? You see Mount Fuji over here. This is not Alps, right? And then it's written in French. Gouvernement uh, Impérial du Japon. What does that mean? Japan government, right? And Rothschild was issuing bond, underwriting a bond for Japanese government in 1910. Oh my God, what is that year? This is the year when Japan kicked out South Korea's king, and then they finally fully colonized the Korean peninsula to expand their empire, right? So this is an unfortunate year for Korean people, but for Japanese people, it's the other way around, I guess. So this Rothschild Western manner were maybe primarily, focused on celebrating the relation with Japanese tourists. Maybe that's why they have this kind of that kind of a big thing treated as a big thing, and then they bring it at the first page. Fine. The bond was issued at 4% coupon rate. Okay, I can read French. Maybe no, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Okay. Actually, one of my students, 서보경 회계사, uh, translated this French into Korean and English a couple of years ago, so I can make it available to you guys. So right before the invasion into Korea, of course, Japan started to invade Korea like long time before, like 30 years before this, right? But this was the finalizing moment. But before finalization, they issued huge amount of bond, right, in French francs. Okay, um, and then the detail is written down over here. Bond contract. What is the maturity, and then when the coupons will be paid, and things like that are shown over there. And then after forward, you see a lot of documentations kept and accumulated by the Rothschild family. And then, why is it necessary security? As I said, the government needed Rothschild's help in issuing these bonds, right, to finance their expansion project. This is the picture of Nathan Meyer Rothschild in 1817 at the view from Royal Exchange, which is London Stock Exchange kind of things. 5 brothers of Rothschild family, portraits are over here. And then in Prussia, 1818, they issued 5% coupon bond of £5 million. Okay, you remember Germany, and then they're issuing bond in foreign currency. We are learning about international bond issuance in different currency. They were doing it 200 years ago. Very impressive. And then they were communicating in their Jewish language, because this is a Jewish family, okay, banking family. And then they were using their own Hebrew language to write letters, so that the rest of the people in Europe could not understand what the heck is going on. Encryption method, right? Prussian loans, right? Those schedules are written down in detail. And then Prussia, this is Russia, right? They were issuing bond, 5% coupon bond, 6.6 million pound. Okay, again, international bond issuance was there, and who was supporting it as underwriter? James Rothschild. And they also issued bonds in rubles and in sterlings, how they exchange it, right? In different currencies, right? The contracts were written down like this, and they've been keeping this in their vault. and then Spain 1870, 5% coupon bond, face value 2.3181 million pounds. Spanish quicksilver mortgage bond issue. So Spanish were extracting quicksilver mines, right? Sunguang, right? Somehow. And then if you go down, they also show bond they issued in 1879, 5%, 8.5 million pound bond, state domain mortgage bond issues, right? And then you see Egyptian state domain mortgage, and then 5 million, I don't know, 8.5 million pound, but for this piece of paper, it gives you 100 pounds, right? So if you're a bond investor at that point of time, you hold this piece of paper. Okay, you hold this piece of paper, which will give you 100 pound at the end of maturity. Okay, at the end of maturity. So you had to issue like many pieces of this bond paper, right? And then you see Egypt Canal, Suez Canal, right? Bond issued for this. And then others like South Africa. Some of you are from Netherlands, so this must be familiar. I mean, this your language, like Zuid-Afrikanische Republiek, right? I guess this is Dutch. And then they were issuing in British pound amount. This piece of paper, principal amount 500 pound, but the total aggregate issuance was 2.5 million bonds and 5% coupon rate. And then you can skim through this, right? Okay, now the focus of the camera seems like coming and going, but please, I mean, bear with me. Don't be pissed off. Chile was also issuing government bond, 4.5% bond, 100 pounds worth per piece of paper. And then in aggregate amount, what is it? 4.5% coupon rate. Coquimbo Railway bond issue. I don't know the total amount of it. Oh yeah, 260,000 pounds, right? And then this bond, why did they issue? Because they wanted to support the building of railways. Like 150 years ago, or this time around, building railways was the big project, right? Nowadays, building, what is that? The data warehouses, kind of things, servers are big things, right? Telecommunication network. But at that time, it was, the name of the game was railways, okay? Nathan the First, Lord Rothschild, right? This is the guy who first achieved what? The noble status in Britain, okay? Baron de Rothschild, the baron level, the lowest level of the hierarchy in the noble ranks in Britain, as far as I understand. Okay, the next page is quite a surprise, right? Japan 1905, 4%, 25 million pound bond issued, okay, through Rothschild, right? How could they be, right? I was surprised like this, but Japan was trying to develop themselves into those empire ever since Meiji era, right? So they were quickly catching up, right? And then eventually, right, they were trying to finance their empire projects through issuing bonds in Europe. Maybe they could borrow money at cheaper rate somehow, okay, compared to domestic financings, maybe, okay. So actually they asked Rothschild before 1904, which is the year of Russo-Japanese War, Royal 전쟁, right? The thing is, all the wars and all these kind of things are a very risky project, right? What is more risky than the war, right? It is a national project, and to implement those projects, you need money, okay? All those soldiers, right? You need very strong spirit and strong physical strength, but at the same time, you also need money to support them and then feed them somehow. Who is going to finance them, give them money to do it? So Japan approached Rothschild in 1904 or even before that, but uh, that was because Rothschild was stationed in London as well as France, right? Um, they were there was a strong tie between Britain and Japan, 영일 동맹 in Korean terminology. So they had natural reason to uh, resort to. But but the Rothschild said no at that time because why? Russia was against Japan, and then the Russia, they had a lot of Jewish people living in their own territory, and the Jewish people in Russia, we call them Ashkenazim, and then they were under severe racial discrimination. So Rothschild, they were primarily concerned about the how to resolve this racial discrimination in Europe against the Jewish people, so that they will live in a better condition. But if Rothschild lends money to Japanese government, the Russian government will be pissed off in 1904, and then the Russian government may retaliate against this Jewish people inside their territory. So that was their primary concern. So they said no to Japan. Okay, and then 1904 and 1905, Japan beat Russia. Okay, after the war, when it became clear that Russia was defeated, then the Rothschild started to do business with Japanese government like this. 1905, in their building railways in Manchuria or the Korea expansion as a way of imperial expansion into this territory. Territory of Korea and China, but they're colonizing by and by. So that's what I have to say. Now, this kind of financing was also financed through syndication loan, together with other prominent British banks like Schroders or other Baring Brothers. So Rothschild was not the only one. Okay. Now Brazil, 1922, they also issued government bond. United States of Brazil, and then 7.5%, 9 million pound bond, coffee security bond issues was there. What was this? Well, Brazil. Well, what is Brazil if they don't have coffee, right? They are, rich with coffee, but this is a commodity. Commodity. The problem with this commodity is that supply and demand results in huge fluctuation of price. So a little bit of oversupply, the price plunges like crazy, and then the coffee business goes bankrupt. You don't want that to happen. So you want to manage the price level of coffee in a predictable or sustainable level, right? So the Brazilian government wanted to purchase a lot of coffees in times of rich coffee, and then vice versa in bad coffee agricultural situation. So to finance that kind of project, they wanted to issue bond, and then Rothschild got in there and helped the government, right? And then you see that one piece of bond looks like this, and the face value 1,000 British pound. Again, this is not real, right? Not real, but foreign currency unit. Okay, and then 7.5% coupon bond, and $9 million in total. And this piece of paper is just a part of it, 1,000 pound unit. Okay, there must have been 9,000 pieces of this paper produced. Okay, and spread to all those investors around the world, right? The rich people, they put their money over there. Okay, and then that's the principal amount. if you flip it, and the back side of it shows a very interesting thing, which is the coupon. Can you see it in this, right? Can you see it clearly? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, it's getting clearer. Written down as first coupon all the way down to 60th coupon, right? What's the frequency of coupon payment? Every 6 months. So April 1st of 1923, about 100 years ago, right? This is the first coupon payment happening. And then 6 months later, October 1st, 1923, right? So each time you take out the piece of paper, this part, okay, as a coupon, and then bring it to Rothschild, and then they will give you this coupon amount of 37.1 pound per piece, right? And then it was supposed to come at 60 different times over 30 years horizon, right? So that was the bond, and that's why we call it the coupon, just like taking off the piece, just like when you go to the grocery store, okay? Anyway, so that's Brazilian coupon. The next one is French railway coupon, okay? 1922, 6%, 2 million pound, chemin de fer de Paris à Orléans, I don't know, Paris à Orléans. That's again foreign currency denominated bond, right? International bond issuance, and then railway building, right? Again, the most important social infrastructure projects at that point of time. One piece, 500 pounds, right? Face value. And then all different bonds were demonstrated over here, right? Hungary, 6% coupon bond, face value 2.25 million pound, right? Hungary bond issuance. And then you see this bond contract written down, yeah, in detail. And there you see all those banks involved in it as a syndicate members, and then other records are shown over here, right? And then that's the end of this book, and it says Integritas, Industria, and Concordia, which is the three important mottos of Rothschild family. Do your business with integrity, and then Industria means work hard, diligently, and then Concordia means what? Among your 5 brothers and all, among your families, right? Don't fight. You have to cooperate and join your forces together. 5 brothers, it's like 5 arrows. It's easy to break one arrow with your hand, but 5 arrows, it is impossible to break these 5 arrows at one time. So join your forces, Concordia. That was the virtue they had in their age. Okay, so it leaves a lot of important message for our banking business and all kinds of business these days. But I hope you liked it. And then this is the end of my discussion. Thank you.